All right. Well, hello, ladies. Hello, hello. How are you today?
Wonderful.
Hello,
How are you?
hello.
Great, great. Okay, well, hello, our wonderful audience. Had to greet my girls first, sorry. But hello, our wonderful audience, and welcome to Three Friends on a Mic. And today we are going to discuss a topic that is it's a name out there, but it's a topic that a lot of us deal with and may not know what the name of that thing is. So we're going to talk about it today, and that is called imposter syndrome. Woohoo! Okay, so okay, so it's imposter syndrome, and basically, what does imposter syndrome feel like? True imposter feelings involve self-doubt, uncertainty about your talents and abilities, and a sense of unworthiness that doesn't align with what others think about you. In short, you think you fooled others into believing you are someone you aren't. So in my mind, I'm thinking just imposter syndrome, meaning that you don't belong in the space of where you are. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of what imposter syndrome means? What does that mean to you all? Whoever wants to go first.
Julie, you want to go? You want me to go?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Go for it.
I think for me, I think of self-esteem and like lack of confidence feeding that. So why do I feel that way if others don't see me that way? So how do I internalize it, or why am I feeling that imposter syndrome? In addition to obviously what it is, but like, why am I experiencing this right now? That's the most important thing for me when I think about imposter syndrome is like, why do I feel imposter syndrome?
Correct. That's good. I like that. Chanel.
And so I look at it from two different sides. The first side I look at it is, how do I view myself? And which me am I bringing to the party? And then I look at it as, how do others view me? Are people throwing something at me to make me feel as though I should be less than? Or am I interpreting it because I already feel like I'm not good enough for the space? So that's kind of where it kind of resonates with me. It puts me in mind of, am I being a con man? Am I being real? And if I feel like I'm being a con man, what's going on? Like,
right.
That's kind of where I sit with that. Yeah.
Both of you guys are correct. It's all that wrapped up in one little bow. It's on both sides. Okay. So, I agree with both of you guys, because on one hand, it's, comes from within. So basically whatever journey you're about to embark on, or whatever you're about to get into, or whatever you feel, this is something new, it's new territory. So obviously you feel like, okay, and you look around you at other people that are probably doing what you're about to get into, and they look like they're pros. So you're feeling in the inside, of course, that self-doubt, the insecure, the self-esteem issue or whatever, like, am I good enough to get into spaces with these other people? And so I think it's the internalized thing within, but it's also, I think, what someone has placed on you. Because I'm gonna tell you something, when someone speaks something over your life, right there at that moment, you got a choice whether you're going to believe what they're saying or not. And that's, and I hesitated saying that because, of course, a child, when they're 5, 6, 7, younger adolescent years or whatever, a lot of times when you tell them stuff, that's when they're most impressionable or whatever. So you speak something out there and they're like, oh, okay, that must be me. I must whatever. So you have accepted what someone has spoken over your life. And for many of us, don't even realize that you're walking around with that. Go ahead, Chanel.
It can be both ways though. And I think, like, I've had this conversation with other people before, because I have people say to me, when I say to my child's going to affect them, and I always say, you don't know what that one thing you say to your kid is going to tip the scale, that they're going to be like, I rock, or I hate you. You don't know what that thing is, And like, I was telling this to a friend of mine before. I said, I grew up in a place where I thought I was amazing because I had a parent that said to me, you are the best Chanel I know.
Right.
So I walked around like, ain't no Chanel better than me. And now granted, in the 70s, I didn't know another Chanel, okay? I don't know if he knew another Chanel. It didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that level of self-esteem allows you to walk into a space at 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes.
You know, where others at that age, you know, view it as, look, you're stuck up. No, I'm confident in who I am, you know. Now, of course, with many of us, it ebbs and flows. There were years where I was like, I was definitely living the imposter syndrome while I'm in this room with these people that are so much smarter than me. Come to find out, we're all about the same level of intelligence.
Right.
But when you walk in and you feel like you're not as good or not as smart, that can also mess with your brain. So you don't know, and it's hard when you don't know what is going to be that wonderful trigger for you, for yourself, for your child, for your friend,
Right.
whomever it is, you know, what they're going to take and move and groove within their life. So,
well, let's chat too about like the phrase "fake it till you make it," right? So like,
hello, it's telling you to be an imposter.
it's literally like there's an entire generation, and talk about me as a millennial, right? Like we were taught fake it till you make it.
Right.
Okay, so now now we're all sitting here going like, oh, have
So
we
how
faked
long
it?
are we supposed to fake this?
Yeah.
How do we know we've made it?
Right. You know what? I want.
And then what is that? Okay. And we look at the millennial. What does that make it then? What is that make it? What does it look like?
I have yet to figure out.
Well, and you know what? You go, but you know what? Both of y'all bring two good points up because okay, so for as the fake it till you make it deal, which is that's not the best advice, but anyway, and then also with Chanel, when you were saying the opposite of that, right? So it's almost like I was gonna say, right when you said that, I was had a question in my mind. So what about those people that was given that confidence and that was like, you know, pushed up and motivated and all that, but you still get in certain places or whatever, and you still might have that sense of that imposter syndrome type deal going on or whatever. So what does that look like? Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's almost like, how can, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, can you avoid getting imposter syndrome? Like how, and can you recognize that you have it, and can you avoid it at the very beginning or something like that? That's kind of what I'm going a little bit, you know what I mean? Because
I've recognized when I've had it, you know, like I remember my first time at graduate school, I walked into the classroom and I later found this out, but at the moment I walked in, I was like, I am in a room of 36 of us in a full-time master's program. Like this was your full-time gig. I was one of 4 people of color. That was all of us. Okay. 3 women, 1 man. And so automatically I felt myself shift because I've been in places before that have been predominantly white and predominantly male. And so I could feel it in myself in that moment that I'm turning on to start a piece of me that's not my normal me. And so it wasn't until maybe like a month in that I allowed these folks to see who I really was and get my real me. But it was because I was trying to get my level of comfort. And I said, like, I realized it later because the same feelings I was having, everybody was having. White, black, male, female, didn't matter. Latina, didn't matter. We were all uncomfortable in this space. We were all feeling like we didn't belong there, but no one expressed it until like a month later when we were comfortable with each other, sitting around, having food, chilling out. Like, oh my God, I was so scared the first day. I thought I didn't know what I was doing there. You know,
Isn't
but you
that
don't
the
normally
root of
have
it,
those
though?
conversations, right? Go ahead, Julie.
Isn't that the root of it, right? It's like we as a society have put up this front of like, I'm a rock star, right? Like, and we're afraid to admit when we don't know something, right? Like, so that's what it all boils down to. But if you start talking to people, everybody usually is like, oh yeah, of course you're gonna get a couple people who are like, no, like I'm amazing and I'm better than everybody. Like there's always gonna be those people. But if you look at the majority, I think more often than not, you will find that you are not alone in that space. But if you're the one who's going to be vulnerable to start that conversation, there's the fear that's associated with that, right? Like, am I the only one experiencing this imposter syndrome, right? Like, I worked in male dominated industries for a long time, and I'm standing there as a female, like, I really need to go above and beyond to make sure that I can appear qualified. And then feeling like you're not qualified, whether it's internalized, which it was, or from external forces, which it also was. So I think there's so many different components to this, but it all goes back to Chanel, what you were just saying is like, oh yeah, everybody was feeling it. After a month when we could all talk to each other, like, oh yeah, we were all feeling it. But how do you, like, sometimes you have to be, take that first step.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say, like, we talked about, we said self-esteem, self-doubt, but is it safe to say that it just stem from comfort level?
That's valid. Yeah.
Comfort
That's
level.
definitely valid. Yeah.
Because like you said, when you guys got comfortable, of course, when you start something new or whatever, it's uncomfortable because you don't know what you're doing. We don't. You don't know what you're doing. Okay, you're just getting in there and you're just trying to see what happens or whatever. And then a lot of times we look at somebody else like, I know I could do it if they did it, but you're not them.
You have to get comfortable in the uncomfortable, right?
There
like
you
that's
go.
something I used to always tell my students is like,
to own it.
that's,
you have to
own
own
it. You have to be there. You have to be in that space, which is an uncomfortable thing to do. But if you can be vulnerable there, I think that's a way, like, Keone, back to your earlier question, like, how do you feel it or how do you know it's coming out? Now, I come, and Chanel, you and I have talked about this a lot. Like, I come from a very different place in terms of like my upbringing. I had no confidence. So like, but for me, like that awareness and kind of going like, okay, I can be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation now, which took work. I feel imposter syndrome less.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, stay right.
That's I like that, Julie, because that's so true. Like, as you own who you are and are comfortable with yourself, like, and that, Julie, honestly is a lower level of courage, because you're comfortable with yourself and you're good in whatever space you get into. And that takes courage to be able to put yourself, one, in that position, and two, navigating it successfully, so.
And understanding that there are going to be those moments, like, and being okay with going like, you know what, I feel a bit imposterish today. Like,
I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask you, like, I was gonna ask you guys that, like, do you think that it's okay to have imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
Why?
I think like most things, in moderation, like, I think about situations where I need to check myself. And so sometimes it's like, very short story, I'll keep it brief. I love to sing. There's been times when I've been in a group of people that are singers that I'm like, I'm in the wrong space. Like, and they're like, Chanel, sing something. And I'm like, not here, ain't gonna happen. And then I'll get someone who I've sung with before who was like, Chanel, just give us a little something. And because she's there, I feel comfortable. And I'm like, all right, you need to get over this, bring your real self, show it, let the chips fall where they may, and been totally fine. But it's good sometimes to realize you need that check. And sometimes the imposter syndrome is the check of, am I being real? Am I not being real? Should I be here? And if I am here, then I'm supposed to be here. There's a reason why I'm here. I'm supposed to be here.
Yes. I think it's a check, right? You have to own that part of it. So like, imposter syndrome, when you say it, it's a negative connotation, right? Like when people hear it, their interpretation of what you've said is negative, or like if they're feeling it, it's a negative feeling.
Right.
But if you really pause and think about it, like Chanel said, like sometimes it can turn into positive self-talk if you're aware of it. Right. So, okay, I'm feeling this way. I recognize that I'm feeling this way. How do I stop feeling this way, essentially? So like, okay, no, I am super qualified. I've been doing this, right? Like, it's okay. No, I can be in this space and I should be in this space.
Mhm.
And going back to what I said earlier, like, I think as a female, we tend to feel it more in some spaces. I'm not saying it's always, right? But like any sort of minority group is going to feel it more than
That's true.
another group.
Yeah, and I
It just
mean,
is.
most minority groups have been taught, you've got to do more to be at the baseline, not to excel, to be at the baseline. So if I'm already shooting for the baseline at my best, how much more can I give you?
That's
What else
right.
have I got in the tank?
What is making it look like, right? Fake it till you make it. What is making it look like?
About full circle, girl. Take
That's
it.
why
I know,
no,
right?
no, and that's why I
Take
said
it.
that was bad advice, because making it till you fake it.
Mhm.
Okay, so what does making it look like? Like that was never really spelled out. It was just like making it till you. Okay, so but what does, because everybody has their own idea of what making it looks like. What you think is success may not be the same thing in my eyes as far as success.
Right.
So you know, what does that look like or whatever? That's why I was like, that's not great advice. Because what
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
trying to think.
in
I
the
saw
moment,
somebody-
it sounds like great advice because it's
Yeah.
almost like suck it up. But
yes.
suck it up is never good. Like whenever you suck something up, it's
No.
never a good outcome. It's always means that you're repressing some feeling or
Yes.
something in you.
And
that
sometimes you
needs
never
to
get
come
past
out,
it.
you
And
know?
sometimes you never
No.
and sometimes you never get past faking it till you make it. Because
It becomes ingrained.
yeah, look, I know some people right now that still
That's still faking it.
yeah.
And
And
I'm like, And
I'm
in
trying
different
to
aspects of your
remember.
life, like where are you going to be real? If you're faking it at work and you're faking it at home, when are you being real? When you sleep? You know? So
I don't know, Chanel, are they fake sleeping? I mean,
So I'm trying to remember because I saw, and it's like, it's been a while now, but somebody put out like a different phrase instead of saying fake it till you make it, say this. And I want to say it was like, mistake it till you make it, like own it until you get there.
I like that.
Which
I
I
like
like. But at the same time, I'm like, still, how do you know you made it?
There you go. There you go. And
Imagine
okay,
that.
so you know what? That's a great question. Because so now it goes back to okay, so bringing it back around, imposter syndrome, right? You fake it till you make it and all that good stuff. So now it goes back to what does that look like to you? Like when you say you made it,
right.
what does that mean? Are you saying that you're successful in your own right? You have a great career, your family is great, you're great, you know, you have the materialistic things that you want, you are, you know, your life is perfect. So is that it? Or is it just the fact that I'm doing good to be in this spot where I am right now because the people came before me didn't even get this far? Or you know what I mean? So like you have to ask yourself, like, what does that look like to you? And so I just to tell you about some of the common signs of imposter syndrome, overachieving. I wanted to say that first because I think we said that, like you already kind of taught some for a lot of us, you're when you grow up and you're kind of taught like you got to go out there and you got to give it your all and you got to do this, all the more reasons, even going back to, okay, so I'm all over the place because I have 3 thoughts going on at one time.
So take them one at a time.
I know, right?
Story of our lives.
That's why I paused, because I was trying to see which one, because this was going to be a little bit off topic, but just like for instance, when it comes to education and how you see yourself going forward, right? So of course, when we all grew up, it was more or less of, okay, so this is your life. You go to school, and once you finish high school or whatever, you go to college, you get your a degree and yada, yada, yada. And then it was presumed that everything was going to be perfect. Like once you and all that good stuff. But in actuality, it was a lot of the pieces missing in the middle of that, because I think I am all for education. I think education is very important. And especially if you're not a person that can self-educate. School will make you get educated because you got to go to class and you got to get your assignments done. Okay.
Can't fake that part.
Okay. There's no way around it. And if you don't do it, it will be ridiculous because it's wasted time and resources. But anyway, but when you get
that's a whole separate podcast.
Add that to the list.
Yeah, I know, right?
That is on the list of the many topics. But anyway, yes, but that's what I'm saying. But you're overachieving or whatever, and you're taught to do this. But it's a lot of things in the middle that you didn't pick up on the way. Like, okay, so because for one, school is not for everyone. First of all, it's not. Number two, everybody don't want to do the school thing. You have a lot of people are finding their way now, going in a different route as far as working for themselves and things like that. So it's like, a lot of things weren't put out there. It was just like, here's A, here's B, here's C, but we didn't talk about, okay, so what happens in between the stuff between A and B, and what happens in between the stuff to B to C or whatever. So you're constantly trying to overachieve. You fear that you won't live up to expectations. I think that is huge because really what imposter syndrome is not living. You're looking outside yourself, feeling like you won't live up to what other people think that you should be doing. And so that's one of the things, berating your performance. So when you are
negative self-talk.
So, and I'm gonna stop right there because let's talk about that for a second.
That was a big thing. Yeah,
that was a big thing. Berating your performance. So going back to that self-talk, because Chanel, you mentioned that it's a matter of what you're saying to yourself or whatever, what you're speaking over yourself and all that good stuff. And a lot of times when you're in those spaces, when you're not comfortable, you're asking yourself those questions. Well, do I belong here? Or you're looking around and how does everyone look smart? Like you're looking around and everybody just looks smart. I always thought when I was younger, I always wanted to wear glasses. Okay, I did, because I thought when you wore glasses, that made you look smart. And I wanted to look like super smart, or like I don't want to say nerd. I like being a nerd. I don't care because that's smartness.
Well, nerd life is the best life.
I was a kid, I didn't wear glasses and I was still called a nerd. So to me, nerd is not an insult. No, I'm gonna tell you straight up real. Okay, like you're a nerd. Wonderful. That means I'm going to class in the morning when I need to learn because I liked to learn. I was one of those kids. My parents didn't have to push me to go to school.
Right.
But it wasn't the school day. I was like, how are we not going to school today? Like we got stuff to do.
Wild to embrace the nerdy.
Yes,
but I'm with you.
Nerd is not for me. I can't speak for everybody in the world. For the words of Chanel Peroshniak, this is what I can tell you. Me being a nerd, I was good with it. I had no problems with it. You could call me that all day. I didn't even hear you. I just kept it moving. I had someplace to be. So.
Yep.
What you said, Jules?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That was like a whole minute ago.
Chanel gets on her soapbox. What are you gonna do, right?
But okay, but getting back to it in a sense is and when you don't feel like you belong and you're not in that comfort zone, you're berating yourself. Like and even when somebody's giving you a compliment, you're like, oh, that was pretty good, and you're just like, oh no, but it's not like, such and such or XYZ. So that's another one. And attributing your success to external factors when really your success is attributed to you. Because I mean, and that's not being selfish either, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, you had tons of people around you. If you, how do I want to word this? If you are doing, the right thing, and I'm saying it like this is because this is what we all should do. Place people around you that's for you. Okay. If you have people that's around you, that's for you, that want to see you win, that want to see you excel, they're going to pump you up. They're going to motivate you or whatever. And when we deal with the imposter syndrome, you will give all the credit to them. And it's nothing wrong with giving them some credit because they did have something to do with it, but you will give nothing to yourself. Like you weren't the one that was, I'll say graduating from college. Okay. Especially if you're a first generational graduate or something like that. Graduate from college, like I want to just thank my teachers. If it weren't from them, I wouldn't, blah, blah, blah. I want to thank, and you do thank everybody, but you do understand that you were the one going to school, completing every assignment.
You put in the work.
You put that work in. You were at well, I want to say in every class, because I didn't go to all my classes, but I went to the majority of them past. That's all that counts. But I'm just saying, you were the one you were doing everything, and not just school, but just when you get a promotion in your career or whatever, you don't even see how you're growing and moving in different areas or whatever, because of the things that you have, the gifts and the talents that you have in the inside, that you put to work. So I thought that was a huge one.
And if you think about it, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. I'm sorry, Keone, but
no, go ahead.
think about it. Imposter syndrome. The piece that you just said that resonated with me was, you own all the negatives, you take none of the positives.
That's it.
You know, like, and because like I think about students that we talk to, and they're like, I wouldn't have got this degree without you, Chanel. You sure would have, because you did the heavy lifting.
Yes.
I was your cheerleader.
Yes.
I got your back the whole way. I'm your biggest fan. But somebody's got to be on that stage being a rock star. And that's how I became your fan. So you have to own that piece, because you did the heavy lifting.
Correct.
And at the same time, too, on the journey, right? When students are like, oh, you know, like beating themselves up. And you ask the question of, if this was your friend telling this to you, what would you say to them? Well, I would tell them, and I'm like, okay, so why wouldn't you say that to yourself? Now, do not get me wrong. I'm the same as they are, right? I have to take my own advice here too, but like, it's so true. We are far more likely to extend grace and kindness
to others,
to everybody else instead of ourselves.
Yep.
And I think there's this like internal battle. And I know I've had people mention it to me, and I was thinking of a particular conversation that I had with one of my prior students. So I hope she's listening. But like, she was like, I'm more confident now, but I don't want to be cocky. And I'm like, there's a difference, right? Like, there's confidence. Yes. And like, you got to own your stuff.
You do.
Cockiness is when you're not able to accept any criticism, or like you think you're better than everybody else, in my like simple definition of the two things, right?
I agree.
But like when you talk, Keone, about, hey, like you have a whole network around you, you want to have people who are for you. In that group, I want people who are going to challenge me in a healthy way.
Yes.
So that I feel as prepared as possible. And I don't feel like I have that imposter syndrome. Like in our conversations, right? Like the three of us all come at things with a different view. Yes. And I love that, because we can expand our horizon, and we're like, I feel like it's a safe space.
Right.
Not everybody has that. And I think that plays into imposter syndrome a ton, because if you don't have a safe space to have a conversation about it, like, oh man, like this is how I'm feeling, you're going to continue to internalize that, and it's going to just get worse.
And think about, when you look at that worse, think about the relationships that you don't have, right? Because you've never shown a friend, a spouse, a loved one, a stranger, a coworker, your true self, because you don't know your true self.
Right.
You're walking around living this fake role.
That's true.
You don't know who you are.
And you know what? And going back to your circle, that was okay. So let me specify that for our friends that's listening to us right now. Your circle. When I say your circle should be exactly what you said, Julie. Your circle should not be a group of people full of yes men. Okay, because
you don't want confirmation bias.
No, right. If you are surrounded around a bunch of people that agree with everything that you're saying, and think that you're the best thing, well, you want them to think that you're the best things in sliced bread, but you know what I mean?
You
like
want them to hype you up.
I want you to be a slice of bread with some butter on it. You gotta come with your own personality. So I think that's where the difference is, and that's where your true friends come in. It's like, you know what? You are the best slice of Wonder Bread, but let me throw a little
right bit now. You're not
a little bit of jelly on there, give you a little shine. Okay.
Yes, you have to be you have to be able to say, but you know what? You're not giving right now. You're not. So yeah, but you have to, that circle has to be the same way they will lift you up, the same way they need to tell you, like, I smell you right now. Not that great.
Yeah, you're acting right.
Reality. Check. Yeah. So okay, you guys. So I know this is kind of like off the wall, but really quick, I got a little survey that we can all take here, and I want our listeners to take this along with us as well. Okay, we have a total of 7 questions that I'm going to put out there, and we're going to okay, you guys, and we want you guys to take it with us so we can see, how much do you really feel like an imposter in the things that you're doing or everyday life. So I don't know. I was going to do the drum roll, but I don't know. Yeah, my tongue couldn't do the thing. Okay, so number 1, you feel that you have fooled people in some way or have given the impression that you are more capable than you really are. Very rarely, sometimes, or almost, always.
Are we writing them down? You want to talk about it? What are we doing?
Okay, so you can write down your answer. Okay. So write down your answer.
All right.
Okay, and so let me give you the disclaimer too. So write down your answer because I pulled my phone out. I'm just typing it in my phone. So
I got pencil.
Okay.
Yep, and it's ready.
Okie dokie. So all of the questions are going to be answered by very rarely. That equals 1 point. Sometimes equals 2 points. And almost always equals 3 points.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yep, we're good.
Okay. So have you guys already? So number 1, I'll read it.
I got number 1.
Okay, you already got it.
Rock and roll.
You're good. Okay, cool. Number 2, you feel that your achievements are mainly down to good luck, other people's help, or that your achievements weren't that big of a deal anyway. Very rarely, sometimes, or almost always.
Okay.
Ready.
Okay. All right. Number 3, you find it hard to understand or accept how someone like you could be in the position you are in or be doing what you are doing.
I'm good.
All right.
Yep.
Number 4, when you achieve something, for example, a qualification, a good result on a test, or a job promotion, you feel that there must have been some sort of mistake, maybe a clerical error or a computer error.
Shut up.
Oh my God, yeah. Okay, no poker face here. I got no poker face.
That's the best part. Should have no poker face. I can love it.
I couldn't write very rarely so fast on this piece of paper.
Look, Chanel was looking like I earned everything. What you talking about?
And they say when you say make it, I made that green. Okay, that paper didn't write itself.
Okay.
You said what you said there.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Number 5, when you make a mistake or something goes wrong, you feel worried that this could expose you as a fraud or prove that you don't know what you are doing. All right. Number 6, despite your achievements, you feel that at any moment someone will come along and tap you on your shoulder and say, we need to have a chat. You don't belong here. I saw those non-poker faces again. All right, you guys, are y'all ready for number 7?
Ready.
I'm on with it.
Okay. So you find that each new success or achievement, instead of being a source of satisfaction, just increases the pressure to achieve the next time. That's a good one.
Ooh.
That's pretty loaded, right? That's pretty loaded.
That is loaded.
That's a lot going on there. That's a lot to unpack in one question.
That is a lot to unpack there.
Alrighty then, that part. So what we're going to do is the responses that we all made. Like I said, if you chose very rarely, that equals 1 point. Sometimes equal 2 points, and almost always equal 3 points. So what you're going to do is add all your points up, and I'll give everybody a few seconds to do that because I'm adding mine right now. Okay. All right. And then
Okay, I had to double check my math. I'm good.
right, because math is not my subject. Math is not my thing. Okay. So
Math is my thing.
okay, there you go. There you go. Okay. So now we're gonna see how we did. Okay, so if you scored 1 to 7, that's pretty unusual, but it's good for you. Okay. This indicates that you rarely doubt your achievements and don't spend a lot of time wondering whether you are a fraud or not. So that's a good sign, meaning you don't really suffer from the imposter syndrome because you feel like, hey, everything I get, I've earned it, right? If you have scored from 8 to 14, most people will fall in this range, okay? Most of us will experience some imposter feelings from time to time. I think that's me. Perhaps in a new situation or where you are going to be evaluated. The more often you experience them, the more potential they have to impact on your life, okay? And if you did 15 to 21 in points, you quite often question your abilities and achievements, and feelings of being a fraud are common. So who wants to go first with their score? Because mine's just going to be a two-tone little answer here. I can go first. It's always long-winded, but
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
Tell you.
Now, in today's world, okay, currently where I am in life right now, I actually scored a 9. Okay.
Nice.
Right. So I'm in the middle. Like I used to think, sometimes you kind of doubt yourself, or when you're coming up to a new something that you need to accomplish. It's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to perform? Or I guess it's just the jitters and the fears that you have before you embark on something new. So I'm kind of there. But years ago, I would have definitely been in the 15 to 21 points because I super doubted quite a bit of things that I did back in the day. And also mine will come from a seed being sown over me because I was a young mother. At the age of 19, I had a kid. And so my dad, my biological father, because I'm blessed, I have 2. I have a biological father and my dad that raised me. But my biological father, I got pregnant at a younger age. And the words that came out of his mouth was, "What are you doing? That's ridiculous, retarded. Like, you're not going to be able to do anything with your life now. You're pregnant." And for a second, that stuck with me for a second. Then I kind of got out of it though, because, get over yourself. You could be a mom. So you got to do what you got to do. But yes, you did. You told me that was going to just ruin everyone. So to all the young moms out there or that started early, keep pushing forward. That's not true. Only thing you got to keep doing is keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you will learn how to be a mom and learn how to live life.
It is let me tell you, so I'm trying so hard not to soapbox in this moment.
No, go ahead.
That is all types of a podcast, maybe not for us, but for somebody, because I have a sibling who had a child while she was in school in her undergrad, and she was like, "What am I going to do?" I said, "Had a child and finish school." Like, for me, I was like, I don't understand this conversation. Right. Like, how is there, it's not like school magically disappeared off the earth because you're pregnant.
That's true.
She went on, got her bachelor's degree.
Did it.
My niece sat in my lap as her mother got her master's degree. Okay. And now there are nights when I'm like, "Oh, can we FaceTime with my niece?" And she's like, "Yeah, but I'm in class for what? The PhD." Just saying. Just saying. Single mom, knocking it out, rocking it out. Just saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Just saying. That's why I'm like, how is this like a death sentence? I don't understand how, like, now we can't do anything else. That's why they make the papoose. I can carry my kid anywhere I'm going. What's the problem?
I think it's a mindset too, right? Because
it is. That's what I was going to say.
It's all about a mindset, because people will put that on you, even if it has nothing to do with a pregnancy or whatever. When they see you going down the road, then they want to say, "Hey, oh my God, you're screwing up your life. You can't do it."
It's a road that they didn't approve, and that's the problem. So how is my choices affecting your day?
Right.
Did you go?
But that's where the imposter syndrome comes in.
Yes.
That's where the imposter syndrome comes in, right? Because it's like, can I do this? Because maybe now I've been told I can't do this, or
Yeah.
other people didn't want me to do this. So now I'm feeling like maybe I shouldn't exist in this space.
Right.
Right.
It's that.
For sure.
It's that. And I want to say one more thing, Julie, because I want to hear what you got too. So
Yeah. Yes.
hit it dead on the nail, because I was going to piggyback off of something that Chanel was talking about. What does it change? It does. Pregnant or anything new, it changed your mindset for a split second, because you've never been in that space before. So you're just like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe this is true. Maybe I can't do this or whatever. So that is both of them. And like you said, that's when the imposter syndrome comes in, because it's like, can I do this? Oh, I know I can't do what she's doing over here. Yes, you can. Get over yourself. But go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, it's about, but right, like it's about that. It goes to self-talk, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like
That's good.
mindset, self-talk, is it positive or negative? And sometimes it's bigger than that, right? There's mental health that plays into that too. But I feel like the imposter syndrome comes from some of those places, external factors, and then like we talked about, the internal factors too. I was only at 11. I have to say, I was a little surprised that it was that low. I feel like I was expecting to be in the 50 to 21 range, if we're being perfectly honest. But I also will say, like we talked about, like, I feel like I've been paying more attention to those things and working on that positive self-talk. So I feel like for me, it's like, okay, see, like that's actually working, because I didn't have any threes, or almost always. Like, I'm going to count that as a win for myself here today.
Glorious.
What about you, Chanel?
So
What about
for
you?
me, I was an 8.
Hey, girl. Look at you.
One that I was a 2. Everything else, I was a 1, because and I think a lot of it plays into, kind of how the path my life has taken. So, and similar to what you said, Keone, like if I would have done this probably early mid-20s, whole different outcome on this list. But a lot of it, I think about, perseverance. I think about challenges that I've had that I'm like, I've done this before. Or like Julie said, like I've gotten to a point where I can spot it.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm feeling a little like the spidey sense is going. Something right, How do we turn this bus around? Go the way you want to go. Like that's, and I'm like, and the one that I marked at 2, I was like, yeah, that's definitely a 2. Like I could own it in that second we were going through it. I was like, yep, that's a 2. That's clearly a 2. Yep. But the same, like no 3s was never even 3 wasn't even on the board. I was like, yeah, you said 1, 2, 3. I heard 1, 2. Right. So,
self-awareness is a beautiful thing.
It is.
Yeah, but I like that little quiz, because in a moment, kind of, because I don't know if you guys did this, but like every time you read a question, Keone, in my mind I had a scenario. I had a personal situation where I was like, ooh, that sounds like, oh, I remember that. That's definitely, like that type of thing. So it was relatable instantaneously for me. Yeah.
Well, I was also like, if you would have asked me that like 2 years ago, it would have been a very different answer. Like that was my mind initially was like, oh, you know what? It's better now. Like that, I think, was where my mind went almost instantaneously with most of them, because it's something I paid attention to, right? Like when I first even heard of imposter syndrome, it was probably only a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh my God, I have that. Like, oh my God, that's me.
It's when that happened,
that brought the awareness, and that brought like with it, like paying attention and having the mindset and making sure I'm focusing on the self-talk, right? Like the things I would tell other people to do, like craziness, of course. But that was where my head went through most of those questions, is like, oh, if you would ask me that like a couple of years ago, ooh, that'd have been a 3. No question. But now it's like, oh, it's a 1 or a 2. And that, I like that it's a snapshot. Like I like that I could do that quiz again in like a year and see where I am, and it could be different.
See where you fall.
I like that.
Sure.
I want to propose that we do that. Like
Put it on there. Make it happen.
I like it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
For sure. Our listeners, a year from now, from this date of you guys hearing this, we're going to try to do this again, and I want all of us to see where we are a year from now as far as this imposter syndrome, because it is real. It is a real struggle that a lot of people deal with for a long time, like most of us, or especially because Chanel is our super bookworm at the group. All of us are bookworms. But Chanel's, but so Chanel probably knew, but like Julia and I mentioned, I didn't know that imposter syndrome was a thing. Like I just knew that you had fears and you was afraid to embark on some new journeys or whatever. So you had no idea what that deal was like. But yes, I would love to see what that's going to be like with the other year or so. But it is real. And a question I have for you guys, because I know we're getting ready to wrap up here soon, is what do you want to say to our listeners about imposter syndrome? Like what should they take from this? As far as like how to deal with it, what it looks like, what do you guys want to give to your, or ladies, sorry. What do you ladies want to give to?
I'll jump in.
Okay.
I think the thing that made the biggest difference for me was finding people who would be supportive of me or vocalizing to my network what I needed. Like, I still want to be pushed, but I want some positivity here too. Like, push me to be my best.
Yeah.
And I think that really changed the game for me. Is finding that group of people, and not to say that is easy, because it is not easy to find that, but that's something to work towards. Like, if you can join any sort of like local group or whatever, like find your people, but also work on that positive self-talk, because it makes all the difference. It really does. Like how you talk to yourself. I have on my little vision board back there, a little paper that says, you don't talk to anybody more than you talk to yourself, so be kind. And I think that when I saw that it was probably like 2 years ago, maybe even a year, that I saw that. And that's been the biggest difference for me in fighting the imposter syndrome, is going like, okay, like, why are you so hard on yourself? Like, you're not hard on everybody else. And like, when you can work on your mindset, I think that's the biggest difference maker between that and the support network. That's my advice.
I like it. What about you? When I think about it, I mean, it sounds so like cliche, but it's just powerful. Own who you are. Whether you're having a good day, whether you're having a bad day. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I actually talked to a colleague about this. When someone says, "Hey, how are you?" and the colleague just responds, "I'm fine." What if you're not fine? And they were like, "Well, that person really doesn't want to know." I said, "I'll tell you right now, when I ask you how you're doing, I don't want just your normal run-of-the-mill answer if that's not how you're doing in the moment." So own who you are. And that helps with dealing with imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Because if you're walking in anywhere, even if someplace as simple as I'm walking into a restaurant and I know that I'm eating alone, own it.
Mm-hmm.
Have a seat. If you have a book, read a book. If you want to be in the moment and then just sit there and enjoy your meal, it's okay. You don't have to pretend like someone's coming to join you, or that your friend is running late, or, you're talking with someone through texting when really all you're doing is scrolling on your phone because you're eating by yourself. Mm-hmm. Own who you are, and know that in that ownership, there is power. In that ownership, like anything you own, it has value. So you have value. So that's what I would add.
Also, can I just say, I feel like we could do a whole separate podcast on when people say I'm fine when you ask and they're not. That could be a whole separate deal.
Started on a soapbox. We got that type of time.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. I might add that to the list.
It might have to go, because I'm a shoot. Don't even.
Sorry. Sidebar. We'll take that one for later.
Like Keone, wrap it up, close us up for the day.
Close it out. Don't let us go somewhere different.
Keone.
I want to say soapbox, because just FYI, you all, I'm talking to our listeners right now, you guys will be hearing podcast ideas, because this is, I mean, you know, the brainstorming is real. Okay, so
Oh yeah,
so and that
it's
look,
always
that's, I
going.
mean, that will be a future podcast session. So just so you guys
Yeah.
can look into that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so and the cool thing about this is I get to go last because I get to just say, yeah, Julie and Chanel just pretty much wrapped it up. So with that being said, I mean, but I agree with everything that you all just said. From owning it to self-talk, self-positive talk. I guess I'll try not to be long-winded. The biggest thing I will tell everyone is self-awareness is real. So number one. Number two, yes, you do have to own it, and you do have to do self-positive talk to yourself. And just know that every new journey that you're about to embark on, it can look scary. And it's probably going to be scary because you've never done it before. But when you're in it and you're doing it, going back to the own it, because you're doing it. Like it don't, and the most important thing about to me about imposter syndrome, stay away from comparisons, okay? Because you're not that person over here. You are your own special person, and you do things your own special way. We were not made first, and one last, stay away from comparisons and individuality. Own that, because if we were all made the same, this world would be very boring. Okay, we know that. Okay, that's why we have our wonderful group of friends and our special people that's around us or whatever, because you have that coming around us to make us feel whole and feel better and lift us up and also tell us what the deal is at the same time. So that is very, very important. So I'm gonna stop rambling, but that's the main thing. No comparisons. Do not compare yourself to anyone. You are your own person. Yeah. Piggybacking off Chanel, you do need to own it, and piggybacking off Julie, you need to make sure you're giving yourself that positive self-talk. Look yourself in the mirror and say, yep, I got this. And I have one other thing. I do want to end with a quote. Okay, it's by Eleanor Roosevelt. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Amen.
All right, so remember that. So that's all up here, you guys. It's all up here. Okay, no one can make you feel any type of way unless you give them that permission. So own it, self-talk, no comparisons. All right, so all right, this has been real. This has been fun. This wraps up another session for us. So we look forward to seeing you guys and talking with you every week. Join us every week. 3 friends on the mic. Julie, Chanel, you guys, my wonderful co-hosts. We'll tell everyone bye. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye, people.